Supreme Court temporarily extended access to the abortion pill mifepristone, but it did not give an explanation for why. The justices now have until Friday to decide whether to allow restrictions to the drug to take effect, while a legal challenge to the medication's FDA approval continues on. Our chief legal correspondent, Jan Crawford, has the latest.
In two brief orders, Justice Samuel Alito extended the deadline, keeping the abortion pill mifepristone available nationwide at least 2 more days. The Biden administration and a drug manufacturer have asked the justices to step in and set aside or block lower court rulings that would ban or greatly restrict the pill. The case is an effort by a conservative legal group in Texas to limit abortion nationwide, arguing the FDA didn't properly approve mifepristone more than 20 years ago. Federal Judge Matthew Kacsmaryk, a Trump appointee, sided with the challengers and revoked the FDA's authorization. An appeals court said Kacsmaryk went too far, but it kept some restrictions in place, saying mifepristone could only be used for abortion up to 7 weeks, despite FDA approval of 10 weeks and requiring 3 visits to a doctor. The administration is arguing that one federal judge cannot set abortion policy nationwide. The American Medical Association also is pointing to the bigger picture, calling the lower court rulings dangerous and saying they could undermine FDA approvals of many other drugs.
We just think it's incredibly reckless to upend our entire drug approval system in this country and create chaos where we're going to have individual courts in states around the country basically undoing those decisions.
And Jan Crawford joins me now. Jan, is there any sense of what the justices will do when they get to this new deadline?
Well, I mean, assuming they don't extend it again on Friday, I'd be really surprised, John, if they do anything other than block these rulings indefinitely and keep this pill available nationwide indefinitely while the appeals process kind of plays out below. And that's because there are these conservative bedrock principles that go to the heart of this case on standing and jurisdictional questions about whether these challengers even have a right to go into federal court and challenge this approval in the first place. The court has said in many other cases in the past, conservative justices in particular, that that's got to be a pretty high bar. You can't just have people, walking into federal court because they don't like some social issue and ask a federal judge to decide on it. And that is something also that these conservative justices have emphasized. That's not the role of judges, to kind of reach out and try to take on some of these social issue cases that aren't really even in their expertise, especially when the groups that are challenging them don't have a clear injury. They've not been harmed by it in the first place.
And what about if the stay were to be allowed to stay in place? What would happen then?
Well, if they continue to keep this stay in place, that means that this abortion pill, it's one of 2 that's used in more than half the abortions in this country, that would continue to be available. And women would still be able to kind of just proceed as they always have if they're seeking abortions or medical care. So that would kind of maintain the status quo. It will go through the appeals process. These have all been emergency requests up here at the Supreme Court. And then eventually they would probably get it back as a kind of a now consider the merits issue. But again, I just think this court is going to be very reluctant to say these challengers have a legal right to kind of tackle this FDA authorization. And that could have big consequences. Not only, we heard the AMA say how this could affect drug approval, right? But if the court lowers the bar for standing and throws open the courthouse door to people who haven't even suffered an actual injury yet, you could see groups in other cases challenging other social issues. So my gut is that they're going to keep this pill available and block these rulings. But, who knows what will happen between now and midnight on Friday.
All right. Well, Jan Crawford, thanks for breaking it down for us.